He stood at the edge of that ice, fists clenched, jaw tight, and covering his face with both hands, not in triumph, in devastation. That image went around the world in seconds. Ilia Malinin, the man they called the Quad God, the young American who had broken every record in figure skating history, had just skated the worst performance of his life at the Olympics, on the biggest stage in sports, in front of the entire planet. And then, just 31 days later, he walked back onto the ice again. What happened in those 31 days is a story they will be telling for decades, because what Malinin did next didn't just win a championship, it rewrote the entire narrative of what it means to fall and rise. Let's go back to the beginning. The year 2026 was supposed to be Ilia Malinin's coronation moment. By the time he arrived in Milan for the Winter Olympics, he had already made skating history. 7 quadruple jumps in a single program at the Grand Prix final, a feat no human being had ever attempted. He was 19 years old, from Virginia, and he skated like gravity was something that applied to other people. Commentators ran out of words, judges ran out of historical comparisons. He was, by every measure, the most dominant figure skater alive. And then the Olympics happened. No one fully understood in real time what went wrong that night in Milan. Malinin himself could barely explain it afterward. He covered his face, walked off the ice, and sat in the kiss and cry with a look that told the whole story. The pressure of being a once-in-a-generation talent at the once-in-a-lifetime moment had taken something out of him that no quad axel could replace. He still won the team event gold. His country got its medal, but the individual title, the one that was supposed to be the capstone of his young legacy, that felt like something unfinished. Now, Prague, Czech Republic, March 28, 2026. The O2 Arena is packed to the rafters. The 2026 ISU World Figure Skating Championships are underway, and the greatest collection of skating talent on Earth is about to compete for the most prestigious title in the sport. And Ilia Malinin has a score to settle, not with his competitors, with himself. He enters the free skate in first place after the short program, but the ghost of Milan is still in the room. France's Adam Sao-Him Fa is just 10 points behind him after a dazzling short program. Japan's Yuma Kageyama is lurking. The ice is unforgiving, the stakes are enormous, and everyone in that arena knows what happened the last time Malinin was on a stage like this. Here's what most people don't know. For the month between the Olympics and Worlds, Malinin said he had just one goal. Not a gold medal, not a record score. He said, "I came here solely focused on finishing the event with a satisfying performance." For a 19-year-old who once attempted 7 quads in a single program, that is perhaps the most mature thing any athlete has ever said after a public failure. He wasn't chasing history, he was chasing peace. Pattern interrupt. When Malinin took to the ice in Prague, the arena held its breath. Every judge leaned forward, every camera focused. And then he skated, not like a man haunted by Milan, like a man who had made his peace with it. He landed his jumps clean. His spins were locked. His performance component score reflected an athlete who had grown up, publicly, painfully, in front of the world, and come out stronger on the other side. The scoreboard lit up. 218.11 in the free skate, 329.40 overall. First place. 3 consecutive world championship titles. Only the second youngest American men's single skater to achieve that. He screamed, fists pumped, the crowd erupted. But Malinin's redemption story was only one act of an extraordinary night, because at the same championships, something else was happening, something even more rare, something that only 4 teams in the entire 130-year history of figure skating had ever done. Pattern interrupt. French ice dancers Laurence Fournier Beaudry and Guillaume Cizeron had only been skating together for 1 year, exactly 1 year. They had met in March 2025 when it was announced they were forming a partnership, and in their very first season together, they won the European title, the Olympic gold in Milan, and now, with a personal best score of 230.81 points in Prague, the World Championship title. The Olympic, European, World triple in a single season, only 4 teams in history. The previous achievement was in 1992, 34 years ago. They are now in the same sentence as Torvill and Dean. Cizeron, standing next to his partner after the skate, tried to find words. "We were a bit more relaxed than usual. I think it unbound us a lot. We had a lot of fun dancing." The simplicity of that quote, after the enormity of what they had just accomplished, said everything. Pattern interrupt. And then there was Sakamoto Kaori. If you don't know that name, stop what you're doing and learn it, because it belongs in the same conversation as every all-time great the sport has ever produced. The Japanese figure skater arrived in Prague to compete in the final event of her professional career at 23 years old, the last skate of her life. And she responded to that pressure the way only legends can, by scoring personal bests in both programs in her very last performance. Her free skate score, 158.97. Her overall total, 238.28. Her music, Edith Piaf's Je ne regrette rien, I have no regrets. When she finished skating, she stood at center ice and let the tears fall. Tears that said everything a score could never capture, about years of sacrifice, of early mornings on cold ice, of pushing a body to its physical limits because the art demanded nothing less. She became only the second woman since Michelle Kwan to win 4 World Championship titles, the first since 2004, and she did it at the end, on her very last day. One more story, because that night in Prague had more than most championships get in a decade. American ice dancers Emilia Zingas and Vadim Kolesnik, in their very first World Championship appearance together, took the bronze medal. They had been ranked 4th going into the free dance. They needed to overtake Great Britain's Lila Fear and Lewis Gibson, a team that had won bronze at the previous Worlds. It seemed nearly impossible. And then the judges issued a 2-point penalty to Fear and Gibson for an illegal lift element. By 0.22 of a point, less than a quarter of a point, the Americans moved on to the podium. Zingas, still shaken after the announcement, said the only thing there was to say, "I still can't calm down. I don't understand what just happened." Pattern interrupt. That is the 2026 World Figure Skating Championships. A redemption story, a love story about 2 dancers who built something legendary in 12 months. The farewell of a 4-time world champion who left the sport the only way a legend should, on the very top. And 2 Americans who stumbled onto a podium they had earned 1,000 times over in practice and didn't yet believe was real. Ice has always been unforgiving. It doesn't care about your narrative. It doesn't care about your past. Every time you step onto it, you are at its mercy. But every once in a while, the ice gives back. If you made it to the end of this video, you already know what to do. Hit subscribe, because moments like these deserve to be witnessed together. Drop a comment below. Which story hit you hardest? Malinin's redemption, Sakamoto's farewell, or the miracle 0.22 of a point that changed everything? The ice is waiting, and so are we.